everyone, and welcome to another episode of Grassroots Racer. This week I have someone on the show who I'm very grateful was in the right place at the right time a few weeks back when I had my accident in Whitton. It's often that the photographers at the track watch what happens and catch a lot of the action, good and bad. And to find out more about how he got into motorsport photography, I welcome Phil Wisewould, an accredited motorsport photographer. So how are you tonight, Phil?
Yeah, I'm doing well, thank you, Ayrton. It's good to see you without the helmet and with a bit of a smile on your face.
Yeah, definitely. I am a lot better than last time you saw me, and I really appreciate you following up with my parents and checking on me as well. And I'm glad that it all turned out okay in the end.
Yeah, you never like to see a big crash, especially in an open wheeler. So I was glad to see you get out of the car as quickly as you did, and to hear that your injuries were just minor. So that was good.
I really appreciate you being there straight away. And last year I spoke to another very good photographer, Ben from Pace Images, who I met in karting. And he now takes pictures for a lot of Motorsport Australia events. As well as I enjoy seeing a different side of motorsport, because it's not always about the drivers. Sometimes it's about the pit crew and the people who run the events, but also people like you who capture the memories.
Yeah, Ben's one of the good guys. I've got to know him a little bit in recent years as well. So it's an interesting thing to be trackside and trying to pick what the drivers are going to do at any particular time to try and capture them in their best light and make it interesting for the people to watch as well.
Yeah, I definitely think Ben was definitely one of the best in karting. I remember we used to go to him for all the photos, but now we got you for Formula V. So those pictures you took were pretty cool, and they explained to us what happened a little bit. So it's good for us to know. But when did you start taking photos, and how did you progress into motorsport photography?
I started in the early 2000s, I think. A friend was upgrading his gear, so I bought his digital camera, and I just started enjoying it from the spectator side of the fence. And I was part of a place called V8 Central, which is an online motorsport forum, and I would share my photos the week after the race of the different categories. And eventually I sort of became a kind of Victorian correspondent, sort of with little comments about the different races from the weekend. And at the time, the owner of V8 Central was working as an accredited photographer, and he gave me the opportunity to join him one day trackside. And so my first event was actually at the Bathurst 12 hour. I think it was 08 or 09. So that was a big baptism of fire for that. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, so you did the Bathurst 12 hour in 2008, and then you got noticed after you captured Fabian Coulthard's big crash in 2010 at the 1000. Do you remember that day? Yeah,
that was probably the first time in a long time that I actually sat down and watched a race. I'd gone down to the chase and after I'd got the crash that morning, I went down and I was went back to the pits and spoke with Fabian's team to see if anyone from the team wanted to have a look. And they went and actually got the Holden Motorsport media manager at the time, Gerald, who I'm very, very thankful to meet, and I'm still in contact with him. We're 12 years later now. And Gerald looked after me and helped me out with the media side, because as somebody new into the scene, I really had no contacts whatsoever. So he was of great benefit to me to look after me. And after that sort of things really started to take off, and I got a bit of a nickname as Crash Magnet, because I always seem to be in the right spot when something goes wrong. So that was pretty cool. Yeah, so how far away from the crash were you? Were you right at the fence, or were you sort of further back near the hotel? Well, I was outside the chase for that one. So you're probably pretty close, I think, to the left hand coming out. So I had the long range lens on at that time. So I actually saw Fabian as he started to slide off the road and followed it the whole way through. And my camera actually died right at the end of that. The shutter broke. So I didn't actually get him on his final landing back onto four wheels. No shots of him at all getting out of the car and walking away or anything because the camera had died. So after it all finished, I just went up to the top of the mountain and sat with friends and enjoyed watching the race.
Yeah. Well, I know you captured my crash pretty quickly. So just for that, like, how quickly did you notice? Were you just taking photos and then it happened, or did you sort of notice something?
Well, from memory, I think you were running on your own at that point on the track. And so I'd followed you into the corner. I wasn't actually shooting, but I followed you in and I saw the car oversteer as you started to turn in. And so I'd started to shoot from that. I was kind of expecting that you might sort of the car would just keep rotating and just slide off backwards. But of course, with trying to catch it, it's flicked you the wrong way. And yes, you decided to jump at me instead.
Sorry about that.
So yeah, that did take me by surprise how much air you got, and then of course after you hit the fence, the nose cone jumped up at me as well. They got the phone. I'm not sure if you knew the nose cone separated from your car and came over the barrier into the photographer area.
Yeah,
so I've returned the nose cone to your family at the end of the day.
Yeah, I had no idea. Like, I remember the car oversteering, and then I remember flying in midair and being in front of the wall. So
yeah,
not too friendly.
From looking at the photos, there was I got about 15 frames, and I was shooting at 5 a second. So it was 3 seconds from when you started your oversteer till when you hit the fence. So and I wanted to compliment you as well with your quick thinking, because it's pretty clear how quickly you managed to get your hands off the steering wheel to make sure you didn't injure yourself there. And you were saying in one of your other posts about how you thought to lift your legs back off the pedal so you didn't injure your legs there. So that was quick thinking, man. Really, really well done.
Yeah, I was just worried in case because it was head on, in case the chassis crashed in, folded in a bit. Because I know of some pretty scary stories where things haven't gone people's way. So I pulled my legs back, took my hands off the wheel, but we had a look anyway, and it looks like the column broke when it dived. So it was letting go of the wheel didn't really make any difference, to be honest. You've been around for many years, and you've been taking photos from motorsport events. Have you travelled all over Australia or just mainly Victoria?
The majority of my work's Victoria, with Sandown, Phillip Island and Winton. I have done a few odd drive days and things like that out at Calder Park. But I have been to the 2 Tassie tracks as well, Symmons Plains and Baskerville, as well as going up to Sydney Motorsport Park and Bathurst. I do Bathurst sort of a couple of times a year usually.
Did you like Calder Park when it was running? Yeah,
I remember going to Calder, not as a photographer, just as a spectator. Back when supercars used to run there, I remember I used to park on the back straight, get the barbecue out, and just enjoy the day. And of course, went to the Thunderdome as well. I only missed 2 or 3 meetings over the entire time that Thunderdome was running, so that was pretty cool. That was quite an enjoyable spot to go to.
So I'm guessing you were like the Aussie cars that used to race around there?
Yeah, Yeah, the Oscars were pretty cool, and the HQs as well. Always enjoyed them because that was one of my early road cars. I had a HQ, and as it turns out, I'm HQ photographer for Victoria as well at the minute. So I really appreciate those guys. It's good fun.
Yeah, I bet it would be, especially being able to take photos of such old, beautiful cars that used to run back in their prime. So I would have liked to go into Calder Park, and I said to Dad that I've always, since I was little, because on the way to the go-kart tracks, I used to drive past there, and I said to him, I want to drive on that track one day, so maybe I might be able to drive on there one day, but it'd be a pretty rough circuit now because it hasn't been maintenance in years. But what do you think of Sydney Motorsport Park? Do you have any good spots there?
For photography, yeah, down to turn 2, quite enjoy down there. You can get some good shots of people having a go and seeing if you can make a spot under brakes. So that's probably my favourite spot down there. Up on top of the hill, looking straight back down to the start-finish line is pretty cool, especially on a race start. So when you've got the whole grid coming down at you. Yeah, it gets pretty moist up there when it decides to rain. Of course, the smell ain't the prettiest, but when you're out racing with your mates, it's all good.
You definitely would have to take tens of thousands of photos over the years. Do you have any that really stand out?
One that I really enjoyed, I took at Historic Winton. It was the Group S race, which is mostly, I suppose, 1970s road cars that have been transformed. And there'd been a race-long battle between two Porsches. And at the end of the race, the guys had enjoyed it so much. I was standing down at turn 4, and as it was a left-hand drive and a right-hand drive Porsche. And as they've come out of turn 3 and headed towards me, they've come close to each other, fist out the window, and they've done a fist bump as they're driving towards me. And that photo really is a cool memory.
Oh, I bet that would have been a sight to see. Was that on the straight after turn 4?
There was the where you came off. It was from there to the next corner.
Oh, right.
Just that little short straight.
So between 3 and 4.
Yeah.
Is there any special events that you've been excited to take part in and had the privilege to photograph?
I think the historic meetings really do stand out. Island Classic is always a big one. Sort of pre all of these shutdowns, when it was a 4-day event, getting a lot of the international cars, and some of them are just magnificent to look at. And it's crazy that cars that are worth so much, and they're still having drivers out there giving it their all. That they are really cool to go to.
Yeah, like I was telling you before, we have an old Alfa Romeo, and I just love driving older cars because they're so much more difficult to drive, because you really got to find the art to driving them. They're not just like Formula cars where they're sort of designed to race. Like older cars are sort of a road car modified into a race car. So I find that really cool, the whole historic aspect of it all. But yeah, and I bet you'd love taking photos of all that stuff, because when I go to the track, I sometimes peek in the garages and see historic cars in there, and I think it's really cool.
Yeah, we had a really good Alpha show, seeing you mentioned that, at Island Classic this year. We had 2 Alphas out the front, and it was Spencer Rice and Adrian Demara. I hope I pronounced his name correctly. And man, they put on a show. They were nose to tail pretty much the whole of their race. I think it was 2, 3, 4 and 5. and they were just bumper to bumper the whole race, and it was just such a good show, respectful, hard racing, and yeah, lots of good photos out of that lot.
Have you ever been in any scary moments where you've been a little too close to the action, apart from me?
Apart from you? Yeah. I mean, if you're down at the fence often enough, it's going to happen. I think the closest one was actually two on the same event. I went to historic Baskerville in Tassie, and at the top of the track, there's a blind left-hand corner, and the light cars tend to lift their wheels as they come over. And one of the Cortinas came around that corner just a little bit too high up, and if he had kept trying to take the corner, he would have rolled. He was an older bloke, and he was very clued in, and he turned into it, which of course made him head towards the fence. And so I was standing sort of a metre up, a metre back, and he's driven through this mud patch that had been belting rain in the previous days, and he's come in and pretty much hit the fence right at my feet, and so that caught my attention. And also the other one from that meeting, I think it was an RX-7 from memory and a Commodore off the start line, and there'd been a wheel touch, and they both just turned right and straight into the fence. And because the ground was so soft, the fence moved quite a bit. So it makes you a little bit more wary and where you stand, and sort of give a little bit more room when the ground's a bit softer.
So what barriers were there, like proper concrete ones?
No, just the three high Armcos, three high Armco barrier. The one up the top of the hill at Baskerville, I think it's just mud wall pretty much. But I think they've been doing some upgrade work since I was there, so that may have changed.
I'm sure you'd have to sacrifice many weekends travelling long distance to get to all of the tracks. So what gives you the motivation to keep coming back?
A lot of the time it really is the friendships. It's for sure, it's cool to be able to walk around pretty much anywhere you want and take the photos. But getting back to the pits at the end of the day, talking with your mates, I've got over the years, I've met quite a few drivers and their teams from quite a few categories, and the friendships they get to the point where they're pretty much family, and I think that's pretty special.
Yeah, I've built friendships over the years as well, and I think it's a great thing to have people you get along with at the track. So it's good to see that you keep coming back and you enjoy it. Is there any categories that you enjoy more than others to take photos of?
I should probably say all of the categories that are kind enough to be buying the photos from me. Different categories do stand out for different reasons. I love watching the XLs, who I shoot for, because a lot of the time they are the younger drivers. They're learning their craft, trying different things, so it can give you a little bit of unexpected. But there's some brilliant drivers in there also. You look at guys like Cooper Webster, who jumped out of an XL into an S5000. You look at Jordan Caruso, he's gone into the sports sedans, and there's some mighty drivers that you see starting in the low categories, and you see just how far they go, and some of them quite quickly, which is pretty cool. Also, one of the things I wanted to mention was why I enjoy the track was also for the flaggies and the marshals. You can't spend your time walking around the track without bumping into those guys, and they give us so much time. They're at the track so early, so that you guys can race, and they're just about always the last ones to leave as well. So they're a pretty special bunch.
100%. If we didn't have marshals who take time out of their weekends or even weeks, just building up to the weekends to come out there and use their hard-earned time to watch over us racers and make sure that the event is safe, you really got to give it to them. And especially the guys in the Motorsport Australia towers, like in the stewards' rooms and stuff, they were really good to us, like especially because we had to get permission to start on the grid because we had issues in quali. But yeah, everyone a part of it who makes everything work is very important, and we do appreciate taking your time out of your weekends.
Yeah, you won't find a better mob, especially our Victorian guys. Got to give them a good plug. They're a really good bunch.
100%. Lastly, I know you're on Facebook and have a website, so if you want to tell anyone where they can view your amazing work, go for it.
Yeah, the Facebook page is Phil Wisewould Photography. So you can get on there and have a chat with your mates after race weekends and just share them around. And for anyone who wants to buy photos, it's philwisewould.zenfolio.com, and you can get digital prints or physical prints from the website.
Yeah, I've had a look at your Facebook page and had a look at some of the other photos. They are very good. You have great quality on your cameras, so shout out to you for taking such great photos. Just quickly though, what tracks are you going to be taking photos at again soon? Because you will be at Filippin for the next Victorian State Series.
Yes, absolutely. I'll be there for that. My next round is actually the Bathurst 6 hour. I'll be shooting for the mighty Suzuki team. We've got 3 cars running in the 6 hour, so it's going to be pretty awesome. They're a fantastic bunch. I always enjoy catching up with them and spending the weekend with them. We've got Phillip Island for the next fixed date round, and in May I've got supercars at Winton and historic Winton, so pretty busy.
Definitely. So thanks so much for speaking to me today, Phil. Once again, I look forward to looking out. I thank you for looking out for me at Winton, and hopefully next time capture lots of photos of me on the track. It's been great to catch up and learn more about your motorsport journey. And remember, anyone, if you're racing this weekend, to drive fast and take chances safely on the track. And yes, I've added safely in there as well, because we all need to be fast and safe.
Cool. Thank you very much for having me on. Appreciate it.
All good.